At this very moment, our forces have taken down not only the Russians on the front, but someone else as well. The armed forces of Ukraine have gotten their hands on an extremely powerful weapon, a breakthrough in the Sumy region. Don't miss it. In the Pokrovska area, the Ukrainian armed forces are closing the encirclement. A fierce slaughter. Russia has run aground. The navy has fallen apart, and the parade had to be cancelled. Our forces did an outstanding job. Now, Russians won't see any planes in the sky either. All this and more in our episode Hellpoint. Something has happened at the front. On the Zaporizhzhia front, the enemy has a new tactic. Putin is sending foreigners into battle, and this time, not Koreans. The variety of Kremlin mercenaries is astonishing. On this side, our forces are already waiting for the suicide squads. They operate at night, but their precise strikes create blazes of unprecedented scale. The occupiers are in shock. There's simply nowhere to hide. Night predators hunt them down everywhere. One bomber and 4 targets are gone at once. We'll tell you in just a moment what this weapon is, what it looks like, and what else has been prepared for the enemy.
It's about to be night ops. Turn off the camera. Open the windows.
Listening carefully to your surroundings and peering into the darkness is the first requirement on the way to the positions of the 65th Mechanized south of Orikhiv, and the #1 survival rule near the line of contact when you're not underground. Something's buzzing.
Something's buzzing. Alright, back up. We won't get too loud.
Without the detector that picks up the approach of any drone, Seaver, the navigator and commander of the heavy bomber crew, admits they don't take a single step above ground anymore. So without the detector you don't go above ground at all. Is that right?
Sometimes we go out, damn, and see something coming up somewhere.
Back up. But their job is such that they have to go out many times every night. Can you say how many sorties you've done in total?
At least a couple hundred for sure.
Did you take the detector?
Yeah, I took it.
Let's go. Look, it's coming this way. It passed, didn't it? Yes, it certainly did pass. I understand completely. I have received the information and it's clear. And that's it.
If you detect the enemy, take action to engage. Over.
Basically, their job is to engage the enemy. This time, the duty officer's warning sounded when the heavy shot 65 was already in the air and approaching the first scheduled target of the night. This is the approximate line of combat operations.
Oh yeah, those are already the bastards.
Oh, something just flew by.
Somewhere around a pickup like that. Or maybe it's our Mavic. Now we'll sort out theirs, they're gathering over there.
Groups of enemy assault troops, says Seaver Brigade Intelligence, and they themselves spot them every night in the Orikhiv-Tokmak direction.
They put camping tents on their heads, raincoats too.
Raincoats, you can see them.
Yeah, a dummy line there.
Yeah, that's a black square.
A black square. Well, on this grey one there will be a rectangle like that.
Those are already bastards. Usually every night we detect the groups and destroy them.
From time to time, enemy vehicles or armored vehicles try to break through to the front line here. So far, with the same result every time, assures Ignis, the pilot of the 65th Heavy Shot.
Our FPV drone operators, just the other day I saw them burning up a tank. It was moving and they hit it right in the box. Come here. Then the mortar started working on it. As soon as it got a good hit, it was finished off. We watched it all.
They're not actually using caponiers at all. It's just vehicles and they're pushing them along.
Recently, foreigners have started appearing again in the defense zone of the Veliki Ilu Brigade, wearing Russian-style uniforms.
Practically 98% of them are foreigners. There are a lot of Chinese, Yemenis, Indians, and many Arabs. In short, it seems that they also have a shortage of people willing to go on assaults.
Captured enemy infantrymen said, according to the head of the communications department of the 65th Mechanized Brigade, that the Muscovite unit, made up mostly of foreigners, had been prepared for a long time specifically for assaults in the Zaporizhzhia direction.
One of them said that they had been trained for 5 months specifically for assault operations and specifically for the Zaporizhzhia direction. Right now, assault units of the regular Russian army are being concentrated here, where soldiers undergo rather lengthy training before going to the front lines.
But it makes no difference to them, assures the sapper of the Ukrainian heavy bomber crew, which enemy to track down. To destroy any enemy, the diver says they have the means.
North. Wow! It's a shaped charge. So it creates a shaped charge crater, and this one is a fragmentation one. There are grooves inside so that they break apart into segments. It's an awesome thing.
A Kiev native and a swimming coach by profession, he admits. By calling, he now performs explosive manipulations with almost surgical precision.
This is subversive plastic explosive. You knead it, it's pretty hard, but when it warms up in your hands, you break it up, knead it carefully away from your face and put it in there. First time it works so well.
Ooh, wow.
It went directly and precisely right into the hole.
Another Seaver.
We finished, look, right into that hole.
On this short July night, the crew of the heavy shot from the 65th Mechanized made more than half a dozen sorties. And every time they had to load the aircraft under the hum of drones in a completely dark sky.
Right here. It's going. It's definitely going. It truly is, and it's happening now.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
You're welcome. Well, if only the 120mm motor could hit like that. They have an error margin of 50 to 100 there. There's the path, it starts from here. That's where we drop the Muashka. I don't think they'll be living there anymore.
Yeah. You were still thinking about it?
Yes.
The result of the work, says Sivor, was definitely worth both the effort and the risk today.
Well, statistically, 5 mine assault sorties,
5 of your successful combat sorties have been completed.
-1 assault group.
From the Orekiv-Tokmak section of the front in Zaporizhia, Alexander Motorny, Alexander Shiyan, and Vitaly Ovsyanikov, TSN 1+1, United News Marathon.
In the Sumy region, Ukrainian forces have achieved success. However, in Pokrovsk, enemy saboteurs have become seriously active. Urgent evacuation. At a critical moment on the front line, they appeared the termites. Footage of their work is mesmerizing. They move forward despite a barrage of fire. Our operators, meanwhile, are already preparing revenge against the enemy. Drones sent directly into the shelters of Russian mercenaries. An explosion and all of Putin's servants' plans are ruined. The drone war is in full swing. What is it like and what challenges does it pose? All this is covered in the following report.
A Russian FPV drone is sitting on the road, waiting for its victim, a Ukrainian vehicle. Our soldiers call such traps by the Russian word "Zhdun." Fortunately, the Ukrainian drone spotted the Zhdun. One drone destroys another. The war of robots is already a reality. This is a typical situation for the defenders in the Pokrovska area, where the enemy is trying to establish an impenetrable kill zone and cut off logistics.
They are hitting our logistics really hard, it's terrible.
The enemy has advanced to the center of the village of Novokonomichne, northeast of Mirnora. This means that the logistics corridor along the Kostiantinivka-Pokrovsk highway has already been lost. There are only 2 roads left to the strategically important city, one from the direction of Pavlorad and another through the village of Rodinsky. But both are under constant artillery fire and drone strikes.
Fire.
The 59th Brigade is holding the defense in the Pokrovsk area. This unmanned systems unit also has its own assault infantry. They're stationed where sometimes only ground drones can reach the position.
The enemy has cut off our logistics in this sector. It's already very difficult for you to get in there by armored vehicle or pickup truck. In our dynamic and evolving sector, advanced robotic systems are indeed the absolute top priority.
Back at the beginning of the year, the Da Vinci Wolves battalion, which became part of the 59th Brigade, realized that ground robots allow people to survive in places where survival would seem impossible. This is how a wheeled drone delivers food, ammunition and medical supplies to the guys literally right under the enemy's nose. Because the Russians are, without exaggeration, sitting in their house next door. Now the battalion is equipped with a whole arsenal of unmanned vehicles for various tasks.
This one here is the termite. It has a payload capacity of up to 400 kilograms. It can operate several times during the night.
Its main tasks are logistics and evacuation of the wounded.
To extract just one wounded person, you need at least 4 people. But this way, the work becomes much easier. It makes things easier because you don't need 4 people. This already guarantees safety for the people. Another advantage is that it works faster than a group of people would.
Drones are also used to evacuate the dead. Here is one such mission. A group of assault troops request the evacuation of the body of a hero who died on the front line. The Termit drone is trying to retrieve him. During the evacuation, several enemy FPV drones attack the ground drone. The robot withstands the hits. If the fallen soldier's comrades had tried to carry out his body, there would have been even more casualties. This guy, an NRC operator, had his own drone save his life during a logistics operation.
You could say the Termit bought my life. We came under, well, a Russian FPV drone attack. I see the FPV drone, well, it's flying straight at me, not at the Termit, but at me. They're already shouting, "Run!" I hear the FPV drone stop before the tree-line turn and fly toward the Termit.
The operator whose robot shielded him is only 21 years old.
My advantage is UAVs and strike UGVs.
Strike ground robotic systems here in the Pokrovska area have stopped several assaults.
At that moment, the enemy was carrying out assault actions, and in principle, they were successful. We were working against the enemy from a neighboring tree line. We were given the task to take down the enemy.
During our, let's say, shift at this position, we killed 4 enemy assault troops. Specifically with the turret.
We took out 2 people right away, pinned 2 more to the ground, and then hit them with FPV drones.
And this is a kamikaze platform. It usually delivers an anti-tank mine, one way. An experienced operator can easily drive a device like this into the enemy's shelter.
Now watch this. And detonation.
But such devices have not yet become a widespread weapon. The main task for ground-based unmanned systems is logistics. But hoping that, in conditions of manpower shortages, robots are holding the front line near Pokrovsk is wishful thinking.
Let me be honest with you. At this stage, logistics is like a joint that's necessary for the front line. At the moment, it can't stop a section or somehow reinforce it.
Here, near Pokrovsk, the war is changing very rapidly. Drones that were effective just yesterday suddenly lose their relevance today. This primarily concerns aerial drones, says the deputy commander of the 59th Brigade.
For me, this tool works well, but for a neighboring unit, say 3 brigades up, this tool doesn't work there.
Why is that?
Technical conditions, radio frequencies were the enemy. For example, our situation. Certain frequencies are working. On another section of the front, they might not work.
What to do is a critical question, especially when sometimes only drones can stop the enemy. The deputy brigade commander's solution is simple. Those who know their section of the front should be given the opportunity to purchase drones themselves.
Decentralization means a military unit should have the right and funds to say we are ready to take responsibility for specific equipment.
Moreover, the brigade command officer believes that this way there is a chance to reduce the unjustifiably high financial appetites of some manufacturers and therefore increase the number of drones.
The 10th FPV? Yes. The 10th frame?
This is...
Well, yes, the frame is the same, just the 10th a 10 kilometer spool on it. With one supply it costs 48, 47 and with another 30. It's exactly the same thing. I don't even know what could justify artificially raising the price like that. What is it based on? Some kind of technical solution? No, they're identical.
From a financial standpoint, it looks like profiteering during wartime. That is, people are making money and profiting from the war without actually thinking about the outcome, about victory, about the limitations of our resources. The defense of Pokrovsk shows that a turning point is coming in the war. In order to withstand it, we need to change quickly. Both those holding the front and those bringing up the ammunition. Andriy Tsaplienko, Alexei Osavchuk, Serhiy Perfilov, TSN Week, 1+1, Marathon, United News.
The CAE saw self-propelled howitzer Thunderbolt in the hands of the Ukrainian armed forces. Powerful strikes from unexpected positions hit the occupiers without mercy. Russian generals are in a panic. Mercenaries are falling one after another. The rate of fire is shocking. It seems as if soon there will simply be no one left to fight. French artillery demonstrates precision, speed, and cold relentlessness. Why has the Kaiser become the enemy's nightmare at night? All this is coming up exclusively.
The crews of the French Kaiser self-propelled guns from the 155th Separate Mechanized Brigade are going out on the hunt. Their prey is the Russians, who are endlessly assaulting the Pokrovsk direction. Like these ones here, for example.
Come on, do you see? They're trying to get through the tank ditch right now. Look, there are 4 of them. Now fire will be delivered on the enemy moving along the tank ditch and trying to reach our positions.
It is here, at the artillery battalion command post, that the enemy is spotted first. The occupiers are as clear as day on these cameras. They're trying to reach the industrial zone near the completely destroyed Shevchenko. But the Caesars have other plans. Gone! The camera went down.
There it is. Do you see the explosion?
Yes.
That's your explosion. Keep adjusting fire over there. And one more. Adjust the aim again.
Copy, copy. The first 155mm shell fell a bit short, but it really scared the invaders. There's panic in the trench. The assault troops start to rush. They come out of cover and... gone.
There, that's ours.
For most of the Russian personnel, this assault turned out to be their last, says the artillery battalion commander with the call sign Apostol.
You saw that the infantry turned around and tried to move in the opposite direction. And there were two, well, at least they were wounded, maybe even killed.
The artilleryman says they witness a similar scene every day. The enemy assaults the same areas in small groups of 2 or 3 people, hoping either for luck or simply that we will run out of shells.
Well, for them, their personnel are not any kind of problem. For them, it's just a resource, and moreover, a resource they consider inexhaustible. So sometimes you watch as they try to storm the same spot for, well, the 10th time already, and always with the same result.
At such a pace of combat operations, even the equipment sometimes can't keep up, because those same Caesars were designed according to NATO standards, without taking into account the specifics and intensity of battles on this scale. So now the manufacturers of this weapon are closely monitoring how their development performs in action.
There were 120 shots per day. That is, the number of shots fired is already such that, according to their norms and standards, it should be replaced. Thanks to our experience, these bugs and nuances can be fixed. But overall, the gun is, of course, very, very effective, as practice shows.
The view of the outskirts of Pokrovsk from a bird's-eye perspective is depressing. Scorched earth, craters from constant bombardment, and villages leveled to the ground. This death is brought by the Russians, including from the sky. For example, this is what the air threat map looks like in the Pokrovsk area. These are all FPVs hunting for any moving target.
So as not to waste the drone for nothing, because you basically can't get it back anymore. When it's charged or as heavy as possible, then in hunting mode it detonates. Anything. Sometimes not even shying away from other types of assistance and so on.
In a single day, just on this section of the front, the enemy can easily use more than 200 FPV drones. Artillerymen are forced to pay maximum attention to camouflage. Unfortunately, even that doesn't always save them.
Well, when 15 FPV drones hit a single vehicle, not a single frame, not a single net, not a single EW system, again is likely to withstand it.
That's exactly why the guys are currently facing a severe shortage of vehicles. Getting to the position is even more dangerous than the combat work itself. That's why the brigade has launched a very important fundraiser for vehicles for the defenders. You can support it too by using the QR code you see on the screen. Yehor Maklo, Dmytro Matvienko and Serhiy Marchenko. Fakti ICTV, United News.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
Is this the beginning of the end? For the first time, Putin has decided not to show the Russian Navy to anyone. Shocking. The most important parade for Russia has been cancelled. All for security reasons. But who is the Kremlin trying to avoid? It's just that now, apparently, there are no ships left, and the sailors have become stormtroopers. To save face, Putin was proudly presented with a medal. But what is hidden behind it? And could this be the last award for the dictator who sent his fleet to the bottom? More on this in the following report.
Vladimir Putin. To all Russian naval servicemen, I extend my warmest wishes for a very happy Navy Day.
This was a first in Russia. Since 2017, the main naval parade for Navy Day has been held. Ships arrived from other regions and even from other countries. But trouble struck. For the first time in 2025, the Grand Parade was suddenly cancelled.
Uliana Suponina. Every year on Navy Day, which is celebrated on the last Sunday of July, there were always ships on the Neva, and it was always a big celebration. Actually, I can't say that there was some kind of super-duper parade there, but it was definitely a celebration. There were flags, there was a parade commander. Yes, the commander would inspect the ships and so on and so on. So for St. Petersburg, it was always a holiday.
Of course, there were also greetings from the Kremlin dictator. He even explained the reason for the cancellation.
It's a beautiful holiday, but I think you'll agree with me that under current circumstances, it's right to celebrate this holiday in a combat and working environment. Everyone is in their place.
So, what's the reason for that? Russia launched its full-scale war against Ukraine back in 2022, but for some reason everyone is only in their places since the 25th.
Uliana Suponina. As the Kremlin likes to do, they just went ahead and restructured this holiday, reformatting it to suit Putin. If before it was just a naval holiday for the city and for sailors, now it's Putin who presides over it. Besides, St. Petersburg is of course an important city for Putin because he was born there. That's basically why they decided to reformat it.
Peskov announced the reasons for the cancellation. Supposedly, it's all for the sake of security. But the parade was not held either in St. Petersburg or in other cities: Vladivostok, Kaliningrad, and the occupied Sevastopol.
Uliana Suponina, let's still get back to the real reason. And the real reason is that it was on Sunday morning that, for the first time, residents of St. Petersburg received SMS warnings about a drone attack in the Leningrad region. This was the first time, and frankly, it's obvious to anyone that the real reason for the cancellation is precisely the drone attack. Because, as we've discussed many times before, what Putin fears most in the world is dying.
However, on the 27th of July, Putin did arrive in St. Petersburg to inspect the Navy's July storm operational exercises, which took place from the 23rd of July to 27 in the waters of the Northern Arctic and Pacific Oceans, as well as the Baltic and Caspian Seas.
Vladimir Putin. The main goal of the exercises is to thoroughly practice the actions of fleet units and formations in repelling a seaborne attack under conditions as close to combat as possible. The coordination of ship crews, combat teams of naval aviation, and coastal missile systems is being tested. Our key objective is to reliably ensure the security of Russia.
Interesting. To ensure security from whom?
Uliana Suponina, when Leonid Brezhnev, General Secretary of the CPSU Central Committee, signed the Helsinki Act on Security, that was the creation of a security system in Europe. And in fact, Putin destroyed all of that with his attack on Ukraine. And of course now, as he parades around Europe with his tanks, submarines, and so on, he tells us that Russia needs to be protected from someone. Of course it does. Russia needs to be isolated from Putin, and then there will be security.
Well, of course. And what would it be without a festival of vanity? Navy Day in Russia could not go on without the country's chief sailor. Putin was awarded the Medal for Loyalty to the Fleet.
Vladimir Putin, for being awarded the Medal of the Maritime Collegium of the Russian Federation for loyalty to the Russian fleet, for his significant personal contribution to the development of the Russian Federation's Navy, for strengthening the country's maritime power, and for maintaining strategic and regional stability in the world's oceans, to award the Medal for Loyalty to the Russian fleet to the President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin.
The medal was presented by Putin's aide and the head of the Maritime Collegium. It was likely approved by Putin himself. After all, who else would be worthy of such an honor, if not him?
Uliana Suponina, for Putin, it's the same old story of imitation. When they canceled Navy Day, not the day itself, but the parade, Navy Day, they're still afraid to cancel the day itself for now. In fact, it's the very parade they created for themselves, their own favorites. And now they themselves are forced to cancel it. And they have to put on some kind of imitation. But apparently, as part of this imitation, they also needed to pin a medal on him as the sailor's greatest friend.
And so that people wouldn't be too upset about the cancellation of such a big parade, Putin even went out to meet the public.
Personally, I think this whole story is completely staged, and the audience was specially trained and gathered in a particular way. And the fact that we don't actually see any visible security personnel in the television footage just means that somewhere far away, completely out of our sight, there's a secure cordon, and only those individuals who were properly vetted were allowed anywhere near Putin. That's how it looks to me.
The parade was cancelled, the medal was awarded, people watched. Everything else doesn't matter. Navy Day was a success. Well, of course, by Kremlin standards. Meanwhile, the Russian fleet is under fire. Crews are abandoning their ships in panic, and Moscow is powerless. The invincible flotilla turned out to be easy prey for the Ukrainian armed forces. The Black Sea is claiming the occupiers' ships in Crimea one after another. The Russians attribute this to mysticism, but no, this is Ukraine's revenge. So, how exactly is Ukraine managing to terrorize the Russian fleet, or rather to finish off its remnants? We'll talk about this in just a moment. The most powerful ship of the Black Sea Fleet, equipped with a satellite system and supersonic missiles on board. A war cruiser where leaders of various countries have met more than once. It also has its own headquarters and even a separate air defense system. Overall, it was the pride and symbol of the Russian Federation, which, as befits a symbol, sank to the bottom of the Black Sea. The cruiser Moskva. It was this ship that the defense forces on Snake Island sent on its now famous course. The ship met its end 3 years ago. It was hit on the 13th of April and went underwater on the 14th.
I truly believe that this vessel was the most powerful and technologically advanced warship of the entire Black Sea Fleet, a truly formidable force since the year 1982.
The value of the Moskva was estimated at $750 million. It was essentially a floating air defense system, thanks to which the Russians controlled the entire airspace over the Black Sea. The destruction of the Moskva made it possible to liberate Snake Island and unblock the maritime trade routes.
They used it as a command ship. That is, you could actually accommodate about 50 to 60 staff officers there, and they could control these ships' aviation and the Marines. It had special communications equipment for this purpose.
How many sailors died on board is unknown. The sunken cruiser kept sending greetings from the bottom for a long time, as civilian sailors in the middle of the sea would find rusty oars and leaky life rafts. It is likely that out of the 5,000 Russian crew, someone did try to swim to safety. However, Mr. Andriy is certain that things were already tough for them even before the missile strikes.
The weather was so stormy that a significant part of the crew simply fell seriously ill. None of the air defense systems were working, and those missiles just hit the ship directly.
That's how the Black Sea monster ended up as a broken plastic toy, unwanted by anyone, in the middle of the Black Sea. Although even from the bottom, it has already acquired a new status. Officially, it is now part of Ukraine's underwater cultural heritage. The Russian warship became famous on a postage stamp with a record-breaking million-copy print run. It spawned hundreds of now historic memes, became the subject of exhibitions, museums and films, all with the main message: Ukraine built Moscow, Ukraine burned it down, and now Ukraine is studying it. After all, the cruiser was built in Mykolaiv, bit by bit, piece by piece. The flagship is now being resurrected in a Ukrainian museum. These are the remains of the legendary Moskva that our sea washed up on the shore. A life buoy, a signal buoy, and also fragments of the Neptune missile, which sent the vessel to the bottom. According to all the rules, these are now being studied by Ukrainian scientists.
And here is the GATS missile cruiser and the operational number 121. At the time, only the flagship of the Black Sea Fleet, the missile cruiser Moskva, bore this number. So this item is original, this item is authentic, this item is from the missile cruiser Moskva.
At the Central Naval Museum of Ukraine, they also know the exact coordinates of the sunken Moskva. Director Serhiy Voronov says, the depth there is about 50 meters. This means that it will definitely be possible to recover many interesting items from there. The flagship itself is large, so even beginner divers will be able to descend to it and at least see it from above. Moreover, the Moskva sank conveniently next to ancient ships and more recent wrecks of the Russian fleet.
This is one of 3,000 sunken ships that we know of, which lie in Ukrainian waters and are registered with us. Most of them are not actually sunk, but rather damaged. For example, the Saratov, a large landing ship that was destroyed in Berdyansk, was not registered by us because it didn't actually sink. It settled on the seabed.
There are plenty of exhibits for scientists on the seafloor. In just 2 years, following the cruiser Moskva, Ukrainian defenders sent at least 6 landing ships to the bottom. The largest among them are the Olenegorsky Gornyak, Minsk, Novocherkassk, and Caesar Kunikov. Among them, a whole load went to the bottom. The submarine Rostov-on-Don, a missile boat, several patrol ships, and even a naval minesweeper. In 2024, the defense forces somewhat accelerated the squadron's withdrawal from Crimea when ATAC-MES struck the missile ship Cyclone. After that, Magura drones take out the smaller boats one by one, and eventually the General Staff's report highlights the figure: 29 Russian naval units destroyed. Can we say that there are about 15 serious ships left?
Well, yes, about a dozen and a half. These are frigates. These are the ones that are actually missile carriers. These are corvettes, again, missile corvettes. And there are still a few landing ships left there, just a couple, but they're very, very desirable targets.
Ukraine has finally driven the Black Sea Fleet out of the Crimean bases, and experts say it did so not only without its own fleet. It continues to follow the strategy of destroying first and foremost those assets used to launch missiles, land troops, and store ammunition.
We drove the enemy out of the northwestern part of the Black Sea, lifted the blockade from our ports, and resumed maritime cargo traffic to our port.
In Sevastopol, only damaged ships remain for now, which the Ukrainians occasionally send back for repairs. Due to a lack of forces, the Russians have relocated their base with the surviving ships to Novorossiysk. From there, missile carriers are still sent out to sea under full cover from patrols and helicopters, while the most valuable ones are hidden among the rocks under the protection of a dozen Russian air defense systems. Of course, there are still many monsters in those ports capable of carrying out the most powerful combat missions, and the occupiers are constantly looking for loopholes to protect them. However, our naval forces act proactively and know exactly how, where, and when. The entire Black Sea Fleet will go to the bottom. Olena Hushchuk, Volodymyr Perekonsky, Oleg Harashchenko, Denis Yaroshenko, TSN, 1+1, Marathon, United News.
The Russians aren't having any luck dominating the skies either. A massive attack on their fleet, chaos at airports, passengers stranded in Russia and simply unable to contain their outrage. They were left without money and asked to leave. It was epic. All the critical data is already in the hands of hackers. Something even more spectacular is being prepared. Be the first to hear about everything. Do not fly with Aeroflot. The largest Russian airline has announced the cancellation of more than 50 flights.
Due to an information systems failure, there have been changes to the schedule. Some flights have been rescheduled or cancelled. Please monitor the schedule.
Some passengers have found themselves trapped on planes. They are not being let out, and their luggage is not being returned. Aeroflot has urged passengers of cancelled flights to leave the airport as soon as possible.
Please note that the ticket offices at the airport are temporarily not processing refunds. Refund processing is also not being carried out at the airport. To avoid crowding, we ask you to leave Sheremetyevo Airport and process ticket exchanges and refunds through the call center.
The hacker group Silent Crow and the Belarusian cyber partisans contributed to the collapse of Aeroflot. In their statement, they claim to have completely destroyed the internal IT infrastructure of the Russian airline.
We gained control over the company's entire critical corporate system, including reservation systems, personnel records, email, and internal surveillance. As a result, about 7,000 servers, both physical and virtual, have been destroyed. All resources are either inaccessible or destroyed. Recovery will require tens of millions of dollars. The losses are strategic. The amount of information obtained exceeds 20 terabytes.
According to the hackers, the daring attack was prepared for an entire year.
This is a direct message to the FSB and other so-called cyber defenders. You are incapable of protecting even key infrastructure.
In addition, the hackers gained access to the computers of company employees, including management, as well as data from wiretapping servers, audio recordings of phone conversations, and video surveillance systems.
The publication of some of the obtained data will begin soon. We didn't just destroy the infrastructure, we left a mark. Glory to Ukraine. Long live Belarus. The personal data of all Russians who have ever flown with Aeroflot has now also set off on a journey. However, without luggage and one way only.
It also turned out that due to the hacker actions, Aeroflot is not only unable to process orders, but can't even refuel its planes. Amidst this collapse, the company's shares have also plummeted. Katerina Kravets, Podrobici, Intertelevision Channel, Marathon, United News. That's all from me for now. This was me, Darina Hutsakalo. Even more scorching news from the front in our next broadcast. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. See you soon!